Hi, my name's Mike, and I'm an alcoholic. My sobriety date is 4/23 of 23. Shepard the Hills, my home group. My story, I get all nervous when I do. My story, I started out, I had a pretty rough childhood growing up. About the time, let's see, my parents went through a lot of stuff, it's pretty rough, man. They had back and forth, and I think it was about when it started getting real bad was about when I became a teenager. My parents had got a divorce, and I was living with my mom, and my mom had hired someone to kill my dad. So they shot at my dad was walking by his horse into his house, and the horse jumped and he ran his hand down his back, and the horse jumped, took off. My dad hurt. He's like, I think that was a shot. So he ran in the house. He told my stepmom. He said, and here's another shot. So they start shutting all the lights off. They start talking about it and everything, and a little bit goes by, and then my mom's twin sister had told my dad what was occurring. So my mom, make a long story short, she ends up getting picked up and going to prison. At that time, I had to go live with my dad. And mind you, this is my dad that I know. From when I was a year old, he adopted me. My mom never, I'd always ask, who's my biological dad? This went on for years and years and years. She during this divorce, separation time, she had told me that he wasn't my dad, so I was broken. And then I have to go live with this guy that's not really my dad. And so I'm like, why is this happening? So I continue to go through that stuff, and my mom, she gets out of prison, right? And so she can always sell me on anything. So I leave and I go back to I go live with her. She's living in Tulsa. I'm about 14 years old then. She's living in Tulsa. Well, she also was a thief. She could have $100 in her pocket. She'd steal something for $10, man. That's just how she was, man. She doesn't drink or anything, but she just, she still has issues. To today, so she gets out. I go to live with her in Tulsa. She ends up stealing something. I end up in her apartment. She doesn't ever come in, right? So I end up, next thing you know, I'm living in this apartment by myself. They end up locking the door on it. I'm staying with some friends. We're drinking and doing other stuff, and then he comes up to me. He's like, "Hey, man, you're gonna have to find a place to go. My mom says you can't stay here no more." I'm like, "All right." So I call my dad. My dad, he said, "I'll come get you tomorrow." Well, he comes and gets me. And, he knows I don't want to live with him. So he comes and gets me. He drops me off at a juvie. So I stay in juvie, bouncing back and forth for a little bit until they can find me a seat in a boys' ranch. And so I go to this boys' ranch. And if anybody's ever been through one of those, let me tell you learn how to fight fast. And it's a pretty rough deal. So, the only difference between there and jail is there's no bars, man. So I stay in there for a year and a half, almost 2 years. And at that time, I decided I wanted to be a counselor, right? These counselors were helping me. These people I could tell them anything, and they loved me. It was built a relationship with them, and I didn't want to leave. And my dad, I go home on the weekends. I'm like, I'm just there to do my time, blah blah blah. So dad's like, no. So I ended up staying there. My dad finally, he says, you got to come home. He said, I can't afford to keep you up there no more. I had planned on staying there until I graduated school. So here I am, shell-shocked again. I got to go back and live with this dude, right? So I go back and I live with him. Mind you, she ends up going back to prison again. I stay and live with him. And I think I get out think I was 16 when I finally went back home. You know, just fighting and took the little asshole I was, and then when I went to a boys ranch, I learned a lot of stuff. I learned how to get away, how to work the system. So I did that. So when I get out, I'm working the system, right? I'm living with my dad, mind you. He's a great, he and my stepmother were great, caring people. Myself and my siblings were just run amok. So I'm getting in trouble. Finally, discipline here. We grew up, on a pretty big farm, so we didn't have a lot of freedom. But when we go to town, we're little assholes. So, drinking every chance we get, whatever. So my mother gets out of prison again. Here I am. I have 3 months to graduate high school. I have a scholarship for Caterpillar to be a diesel mechanic. She convinces me to move back in with her. Oh, everything's going to be great. I go live with her. I drop out of high school. I don't go pursue my scholarship, and I go into construction. I'm picking up trash on job sites, and there I learned to make money. So I got this mentality: work hard, play hard. And if you ever been around construction, you work hard and you play hard. I mean, it doesn't matter how much trouble you get into. You're making enough money where you can get yourself out of it, right? So I do that for a lot of years. And I think I was 19 the first time I got a DUI. I'm at the Oklahoma State Fair in Oklahoma City, and I get in this dude's mouth. Let's get it, It ends up, he runs up. Somehow we end up in the truck, vehicles. I get pulled over because he calls in on me, right? I go to, I end up going to jail. I'm in Oklahoma County. I'd never been to jail before. I've been to the boys ranch, but Oklahoma City was full. It was a state fair weekend. I end up in county with people that done killed somebody, right? I'm a 19-year-old kid in there, little country kid, skinny ass. I remember I slept. I went up there and I pulled the door shut. Come breakfast time, lunchtime, I had to come out. I was trying to get hold of my mom, get me out. She's like, I ain't coming to getting you. I said, just come down and get me. I got the money, but get me out. I ain't doing it. About lunchtime comes. I see this one dude come running, and he jumps across this table and busts this other dude right in the face. And I'm like, oh hell. So I pull the door back shut. I ain't going back out in that, man. They're gonna wreck me. So I finally do get a hold of my mom, and then get a bail bondsman, blah blah. I get out of there. I quit drinking, I think, for a couple days. Just long enough. I go back out on the road, construction. I start going through all that, and the construction's always been my layback. It's looking back, it's kind of my lazy man way out of it, because I can always hop back in it and catch some money. Always, I take for all these years I've always taken the easy road. So I get how many? I think I ended up later on getting over the time I ended up getting 5. I ended up almost getting 5 DUIs throughout this. So I came in here on 6/26 of 2020. I came in here with you folks. There was a meeting in this room. Mr. Slow Will give me a 12 and 12. I went on Amazon, bought a big book. I started reading it. You start telling me to get a sponsor. I'm like, I ain't doing it. You ain't telling me what to do. I'm not like you. I don't, I got willpower. I'm strong-minded. I can do this, but I still keep hanging out with you. Looking back, that seed was planted when I first came in here. And I'm forever grateful for that. When that seed was planted, man, I'm getting chilled right now just saying it. That was when man, that was when God. That's when God started kind of easing back in. And I white knuckled this thing for 10 months. Then my wife and I, we sell everything's good. We sell a house. What I do, I take 30 days off work. In 30 days, well, let me try that.
Yeah.
It turned into a sip. I think I had a half a beer, I threw it away. See, honey, I don't have no problem with that. I don't need a drink. Then it turned into, I was getting a quart, and I drank half of that thing. Then it turned into a 6-pack, But that first sip was where it came in. I'd still come up here during the sobriety rides, right? I wanted to give back. But when I'd leave here, go ride out somewhere to a bar or something, and I'd go have a couple drinks. And those drinks, they just kept progressing. I even quit a job before I'd start back drinking. I quit a job because it was going to affect my sobriety, But I did not completely allow God to come into my life. It was my ego. I was edging God out this whole time. So, looking back, I can see that. So, coming up to where I finally hit the bottom. And I've been to some bottoms, guys, before that, and I've been to some real deep ones. And thank God, thank my higher power that the shovel handle broke on this one. I was begging. My wife would be like, "Hey, why don't you call so and so? Won't you go to the meeting? I'll do it tomorrow. Tomorrow kept going till tomorrow. It kept going to next week, next month, and it kept going. Finally, I'm praying, I'm begging. I'm like, God, please help me. This thing had a stranglehold on me. Like I've never dealt with anything like that. And I kept begging and praying, God, please help me stop drinking. I need to quit. Please help me get into the meetings. And I was powerless. My life had become unmanageable. So this bike ride comes up, this big poker run, and I go on this poker run. Before it, I tell Lori, I'm like, hey, I said, I don't want to go on this. I said, I just don't want to go on this ride. My gut is like messed up. I don't want to go on this ride. I said, hey, you want to go on this? She goes, I ain't going. I said, it's going to be cold stuff. I said, come on, go with me. I'm not effing going. And I'm like, I bet. But I go. We go to the first stop. What I do, I start out with 2 beers. Boom. My buddy Dean, he usually holds me accountable, right? He's usually on me. He's like, bro, what are you doing? I said, oh man, I just got, it's my allergies. Got dry mouth, man. So we go to stop. It progresses. It turns into some vodka, vodka with some lime, and this ride keeps going. We get and we come blaring into Eureka Springs. I bet we were doing 100 when we blew into Eureka Springs. Have a few more drinks. Bought some damn shirts. I don't even remember I bought them. I still got those shirts because I keep them of where I was at to remind of that bar to help remind me where I don't want to go back to. Because that's the way my mind works. I got to have these little things. I go to this last stop. I kind of stutter step. I'm like, oh, I got to get out of here, man. I go to bust out of there, and man, I'm messing with my radio. I can't pick up anything, signals, shit. I'm trying to mess with my radio, and I'm blasting out of there. And I'm doing this, and everybody's standing up there. I look forward, boom, there's a trailer. And I'm shagging, right? I see this trailer, and I start braking. My ABS is kicking in. I start slamming gears and lock up. And this trailer didn't have any lights on it. I'll never forget that, man. And I kicked that bike out of the way and just take on the trailer. And that's where I got this wonderful battle wound, man. Compliments of alcohol. you know. And it wasn't a damn semi-trailer. It was a little old piece of shit Lowe's trailer with the fold-up ramp, which I'm grateful for. Because, I mean, God dang, if it was a semi, I could imagine. But that, and I remember getting up. Once I got that out of the way, I get up, my buddy Dean, man, everybody's down there. They're like, Mike, sit down. I said, no. Because I'd had bike wrecks before. I had a bike wreck before. Well, I passed out during that one, and they drew my blood. My health insurance wouldn't pay for that bike wreck because I had alcohol in my system. I said, I'm not allowing this to happen again, so I stayed alert and stayed awake through this accident. And I'm like, the trailer didn't have any lights on. I'm blaming everyone. I'm blaming everybody else. It's not, it's not me. It's that damn trailer didn't have lights on it, man. It's not the alcohol. We go through this, and I gotta take my shirt off, and it's bad. I go into Eureka Springs, and they start to stitch me up. This doctor comes in, man. I'll never forget this. He says, oh, I can see his eye socket. I'm afraid I'm gonna blind him. I said, get somebody competent up in here. They load me back in another ambulance, send me down to Washington Regional. They stitch me up. I walk out of there. I never went out over the thing. We walk. My wife and I walk out. It's probably 3 o'clock in the morning. We walk out of Washington Regional, get in the car. I'm trying to, I know I'm already in the doghouse, right? So I'm trying to make conversation. I'm trying to smooth this deal over because I know where this is all heading, right? So we get home. Go hop in bed. It's like probably 5 in the morning. I go throw my arm around her. She goes, get your effing hand off me. I said, oh, I'm in trouble. Okay. I did it this time. I did it. She goes in the living room. My eyes are swelling shut. I can't get my glasses on. I reach over, grab my phone, and I said, rehab near me. And looking back, it said holistics. I thought it said Hollister. Can't get my damn glasses on, man. It says, so I call this number. I said, what'd you think about me going to rehab? She goes, I don't care where. So I'm going, and I don't know where, this is God coming in, right? This is God doing for me what I can't do for myself. So I call this number. They're like, okay, we can get you in, blah, blah, blah. I said, hold on a minute. I said, I need to go tomorrow. I can't go today. I got to get my affairs in line. I start getting everything set up. I call my work, tell them what's going on. And I get on this plane. And this is where I became humbled. I've always been conscious about what I wear, what I do, how I feel, I've always been conscious of that stuff. I get on a plane and I could barely see out my right eye. And I've got this hat stuck way up here with this big old battle wound, stitches everywhere. People looking at me like I'd done been in an MMA fight, right? I go down there, just like going into jail, man, strip down, do all that business. I'm like, oh shit, man. But I went down there with that. I was humbled. I went in there, and I knew there was nowhere else for me to go in life. I didn't know whether my wife and my family were going to be there. At this point, I didn't care. I didn't know how anything was going to go. At that point, I was already dead. To me, I went in there. I made a promise to myself that I would completely be honest and transparent, no matter what I said or did. I was far enough away where I couldn't call somebody to play my bullshit to get me out of it, like I'd always done in the past. So we go in there, and I start. I think I slept a couple hours, and I'm right in the meetings. I'm right in the program. I start getting a little bit of foundation. I start listening, and I go in there with this counselor, and I said I was told I need to get, and the seed was planted. So I'm asking her questions. I'm like, so I was told I'm supposed to get a sponsor, I'm supposed to work the steps. She had been through it 20 some odd years ago. She gives me this long form, 130 something questionnaire to help work on steps, or my 4-step, whatever. I'm just going through all this stuff, and I'm like asking questions, trying to learn, right? I don't get a sponsor yet. I'm trying to figure out this everything on my own. So I stay down there, and a gentleman who had been through the program, he had had 20 years, and he had went back out, and he had another, I think he was on 19 years, and he started explaining to me about suggestions in the book. And he started explaining, when he wasn't telling me I had to do something. He was suggesting that I do something. And then when I'm suggested to do something, I'm more apt to do something. So when I come in here with you folks, I take your suggestions, your tools. I came back here, and I see the guy who's my sponsor now. We had known each other. We had worked together for 15, 18 years. I see him. And I hollered his name, and he hollered back. He goes, "What are you doing here?" I said, "What are you doing here?" So I go to the meeting here. I leave. I call my wife. I said, "Hey, I'm going to ask so-and-so to be my sponsor." She goes, "I think that'd be a great idea." And I called another brother in the fellowship. I said, "Hey, I'm asking so-and-so to be my sponsor, man." And he started walking with me. He didn't tell me what I had to do. He suggested what I had to do. He suggested what I should do. So, with these suggestions, I come in here with the open-mindedness, the honest, open, and willing. And something I learned when I was in Florida, or heard when I was in Florida. It said, "A past worth redeeming is a past worth remembering." And I didn't really know what that meant, but it really stuck with me. After we worked through the steps, because I was fighting it like hell. I said, "Why are we digging up these skeletons?" And now I cherish that little line. And I can, when my life it became unmanageable, when I admitted my life it became unmanageable, that's when I had to step out of it. And I had to invite God into my life. And we had to start running this. Because I'm living proof that my life does not work with me. I cannot run anything. But my higher power and I, we can do anything together. When I get out on the job sites today, my jobs go to shit real quick. I've got a friend of mine, we work together in this program and in our day job. We fight, construction's a hard thing, so self can step in if you don't watch it. So we got to bring each other up and, hey, where's God at in this? Oh, shoot, man. So you got to catch a knee. I got to pray. You got to meditate. Couple of months. I think I had 3 months sobriety. My sponsor talks to me. He says, "Hey, start going to board meetings. Start going to group conscience." He's suggesting all this to me. So I'm like, okay, I'm open to it. I'm like, "Hey, where's everybody at the 6 o'clock?" They start laughing. "We don't have anybody to chair. You should do it." I'm like, and they start laughing. I'm like, "Why are you laughing?" I go ask my sponsor. He's like, "I think that'd be a great idea." There's the beginning of service right there. That was when they say when you get it. When you feel like you don't need a meeting, that's when you really need a meeting. There's a lot of times when along this journey that I have not wanted to come in and share, but that's when I come in and I share. And that's how we come in and we chair, you know. And I never come in and not hear what I need to hear. I've never been to a shitty meeting ever, you know. Boy, I don't know how to take an hour of this up, man. You know, because I did some, you know, I don't want to, you know, war stories are pretty, you know, we've all got those. We've all got, you know, it's not a competition. You know, one thing that, you know, my program's not your program. Your program's not my program. What I have to do today, I got to keep my side of the street clean. I can't be worried about your side of the street. You know, that can take me out, you know, because I've learned that in here. You know, I'm like a damn one of those electric vehicles, man. If you don't plug them in, the battery's gonna go dead. So I gotta come in here and I gotta plug myself in and I gotta get recharged so that I can keep operating. You know, 4/26 of 2020, you know, I'd read that about rest on my laurels, you know, but I didn't walk that with anyone. I tried to do these steps on my own, and and all that stuff starts to make sense, you know, and you can't. It's not beneficial to try to work the steps on your own. I would suggest that you get a sponsor. One thing that a guy suggested to me is he said, you know, getting a sponsor is like going and getting a job. He said, go check their resumes. He said, go talk to them. He goes, they may not want to hire you. He goes, and if you don't like the job, move on, get you a different one. But you got to still keep going. You know, and that was just a suggestion. Because, no, man, I tried to write some stuff down, guys, and I've just, you know, my mind, I'm blaming on brain injuries, you know. I remember a friend of mine, I called him, we'd worked together, and I called him late one night in 2020. And I was pretty lit. And I'd hit a bottom at that time. I was throwing liquor in the damn trash can, clang, 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 you know. And I'll be forever grateful for him answering that phone call, because when someone calls, the hand of AA needs to be there, you know. And I came in to the meetings and got that seed planted. You know, so what I have today is a daily reprieve, contingent upon my spiritual progress. And it's spiritual progress, it's not perfection. Because we're not perfect people, but we have a chance at any given time during our day to stop and take a step back. Let the chaos just go. You know, it's kind of like a guy explained to me one time. He said, if you're laying in a river and the river's nice and calm, somebody throws a battery in there, chart cables in there, it's not going to shock you because you're in the damn water, right? You know, but you're going to freak out. Your water's going to get ripply. He said, if you just lay there and let it go, don't fight it, don't let the fear, and just let it go. And that's what I have to do that's what I have to do in my program. I have to let it go and take a step back, and I have to start over. And I have to ask, you know, thy will be done, not mine. Because we all know what we do when we try to run our lives. You know, it's a complete shit show. There's one thing I wanted to share. I get chills on this. I was fixing to do some time over this last one. I'm in Florida. My wife had found an attorney, and I'm emailing him a couple times, and they're pushing this court date off. I come into the program, and I talked to this attorney. We start talking everything. And, you know, I was getting my graduation letter, whatever the hell it is, you know, from treatment and stuff. And he asked me, I'm coming to meetings, he asked me, he says, hey, do you mind getting a paper signed? And I said, is that going to make or break me in court? He said, it would really help you. I said, can I ask you one thing? I said, I don't want to do that because I didn't want the papers, you know, I wasn't forced to get that paper done, so I didn't want that being the reason why I came here. I wanted to come here and continue to come here because I needed it. And I didn't get the paper signed. This is my higher power working. We go to this. We go to the first hearing, right? They ask. I think we decided to go to trial. We go in there and everything. I'm walking out. The judge stops me. Mr. Orr. I turn around and said, yes, sir. He says, was you wearing a helmet? I said, no, sir. Fortunately, I wasn't. And I stood there, and he kind of goes down, he's talking to the state trooper and them, and he goes, that'll be all. So I leave. This program tells us to give it to our higher power, and don't worry about it. Don't let fear, don't let pride, ego get in. And I slept so effing good throughout with all that court coming up because I didn't care, because it wasn't for me to decide. It was already decided. We go to trial. I'll never forget this. The state trooper, he gets up there. They said, they're asking him questions. Did the trailer have lights? You know, I don't know. Well, you start asking him these questions. You know, these guys are professionals. They do this all the time. He had no answers. He didn't. I don't know what happened. I know my higher power was working. So we have the trial and everything. Okay. Everything. The judge wants to sit on it for, I think it was 30 days, 20 days, whatever. He sits on it for like, I think it was 2 months. He called me back. My attorney calls me back. He says, hey, guess what? Not guilty on all charges. I said, wow. So, let me tell you, man, that is when I knew, man, I've got so much chills over this. I'm not saying it'll work for everyone. I'm saying that's how my higher power worked with me. And it would have been very easy for me to step out and go back to what I could have started running the show again. But man, let me tell you, it will be tenfold come back. So I know what's out there for me, and I know what it could be. So I have to stay I have to stay in the passenger seat with my higher power in the driver's seat. You know, I got to keep that seatbelt on, you know, because I can't be out driving, man, because we're going to end up in jail, bro. I mean, it's, you know, and that work hard, play hard, that only gets you so far, you know. It's time to be a man and step up and assume responsibility. You know, pick up the phone, call a sponsor, pick up the phone, call someone in the program. When a newcomer comes in, get a number. Get it. You know, go shake his hand, or her hand. You know, you know, this program. Well, you know, I heard it best said. A guy from Topeka, Kansas. I'll never forget it. He's in a meeting in there, sitting just to the right of me. He says, he said, I couldn't read the directions. And he taps on the big book. I couldn't read the directions from within the bottle. The directions are right there in that big book. And that is, so today I have to protect my sobriety. I can't go to bars. I can't, because that would start messing with my sobriety, the people I associate with, I like-minded people, birds of a feather, they flock together, man. We have great time in here together. We have great fellowship. There's three sides of that triangle: unity, service, and recovery. That thing will not stand up if we're doing two sides of it. It won't stand up if we're doing one side of it. We're going to fall over. We're going to be back in the ditches. And the ditches aren't fun. We got all these scars inside of us. And when we walk the steps, we walk with someone, then we can mend and heal those wounds. I'm grateful that mine is right here on my forehead. So every morning when I brush my teeth, I can remember how bad it can be. All I got to do is take a sip. That's all I got to do. Today, I'm married to a normie. There's liquor in my house, but I know what it'll do. So no big deal. Alcohol was nothing but a symptom. It was nothing but a symptom. It was a solution at the time. Today, my solution is this program. It's my higher power. And I have to continue to keep that mindset because I know how easily it can be taken away from me. I wasn't going to make amends to my mother, these other people, blah, blah. Today, whether I want to or not, I call her at least once a month to ask her how she's doing. Whether I want to make that call or not, I do it. Because I know how easily that this beautiful life that I have today and this freedom that I have today can be taken away from me. The most amazing things when I was in rehab, I said I made a promise I wasn't going to ride bikes if I was going to ride again for a year. Yeah, I'm going to cheat a little bit, and I rode to meetings. I bought a bike in between there. I rode to meetings. That's the only time I rode. And I rode to meetings back home. The first ride I went on was a ride for recovery after my 1 year. I think I got my 1 year, I think it was 3 or 4 days before the ride on recovery. And a fellow at the board meeting asked, and another brother in here asked, needed somebody to start working on the ride on recovery. So, a friend of mine and I, service, here we go, service work, to start working on the ride on recovery. Take what you love, and throw some fellowship in it. Man, how sweet can that be? That's kind of like having a glass of tea and putting some sugar in it. Man, it's just. This program is more than I had ever expected, more than I would ever think. Today I have a daughter that's fighting this thing. All I can do is suggest. I can't do it for her. We learned that in here. I have to let her hit her bottom. We're raising our grandson. I didn't expect to be here at, them they're 50 years old raising a 6-year-old. Because I'm tired. I drank for 30 years, man. I'm tired, man. But I can go to the doctor, do my annuals, and they come back. Man, it's great. I don't have to take blood pressure medicine like I first had to. My sponsor told me, he said, "Hey, I'm not saying you won't have to take that anymore, but I'm just saying, we work these steps, you may not have to do that stuff no more. I don't take blood pressure medicine anymore. My pressure stays good, I'm not saying it'll work for everyone, but it's been God's grace for me. And get active in this program. That's my suggestion. That is, you know, that's my suggestion, to stay active in this program. And, you know, we have to give away what was so freely given to us. You know, this thing ought to cost $1 million, this program. It's what it pays is so amazing. I thank each and every one of you folks that have given me tools and continue to give me tools in here. I don't know what else. You know, it's 10-2. I don't know what else to say. You know, I do. You know, my sponsor. You know, he said what? He said share. He said when you go to meetings, try to share. He said when you share, open your mouth and allow God to speak. And that's what I try to do today. Because my God is amazing. It's truly amazing. And He's still working on my patience. You know, we claim progress, not perfection. Because, you know, I want it now, but we are going to get it. Because whenever it's time. I appreciate all y'all came, and man, y'all are amazing people, man. You know, y'all have saved my life today. And I don't know about tomorrow, but I know about today. Just keep coming back, man. It works if you work it.
Remember to help clean up the room and the kitchen before you